welcome to the meetup. Super happy having so many people right now here. And so if you can turn on the camera, it would be fantastic. But if you don't want, it's totally fine. And so it's cool. Today, for the next 1 or 2 hours, we will be with Negar. She's a fantastic machine learning engineer in Georgia, and she will give us an introduction to Python. And we know this first step in your future data science journey is not so easy. And a lot of members from Jungle Program ask us this meetup. That's why we're doing this meetup right now. So Nega, I'll let you continue for the next hour. If you have any questions for everybody, you can ask directly in the chat, and we will take 10, 20 minutes at the end to answer all the questions. And thanks again. And thanks, Nega, for being here.
Thank you, Gautier. Okay, so hi, everyone. I'm Negar. I'm the founder and CTO of Alartech, which is a startup in Georgia. And we basically integrate machine learning algorithms into mobile applications. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Cool. Okay, so let's go. So, cool. Okay, so today I'm going to give you guys a high-level overview of Python for data science. First, we're going to go through data types, and then lists, loops, and my favorite, functions. But first, let's just talk about why do we even need Python? Like, why do we even need to learn Python? Python is a high-level programming language, which means that its syntax is abstract and it's made for humans to understand it. It's far away from the one and zeros that computers understand. And it focuses on code readability, meaning that it basically seems like normal English, and it's easy for us to understand the syntax and the logic behind why it's there. Let's go through like 3 scenarios where Python is like the perfect fit. Firstly, it's just when you want to do some quick calculations. For example, you want to, I don't know, calculate the square root of something or calculate the area of a triangle. You can basically just use Python. It's very easy. Or you have a new business and you just want to develop a very like interactive web app, which is database driven. You go straight to Python because it's easy to use and it's very effective. And lastly, is that your manager has asked you to clean and analyze the results of the latest satisfaction survey. So basically, it's data science or data analysis. Okay, now, I'm sure if you like data science or you've been browsing through the internet, you've noticed that everyone just keeps saying Python, Python, Python. Why? Why is Python for data science? Firstly, it's very easy to pick up. You probably are already working somewhere and your own business or the company you're working for has a lot of data and they don't know what to do with it, and you just have to like go through development. And Python is a very great fit because it's well, in so many people's opinion, it's very easier to learn Python than other languages. Secondly, as we discussed before, it's readable syntax, normal English, we can understand what's happening. Another benefit is easy data reading in CSV and JSON, which are the types of file that we receive when we have data. And by data reading, I mean you can open that file inside of your Python environment and access the data points inside and basically manipulate them however that you want. And last and definitely not least, we have a lot of fast and easy to use data science libraries such as NumPy and Pandas. And we can do all sorts of statistical methods by just one line of code. And that's crazy and it's amazing. That's why we use Python for data science. That's the main reason, at least. Now, you might ask, okay, maybe you have already a code editor, maybe you don't. And you're wondering, what should I install? And there's a lot of options. Which one do I choose? If you want to go like develop a web app, or you just want to kind of mess around with Python at first, I suggest VS Code and PyCharm. You know, they're very easy to use. But if you want to go through the data science path, the two most important and the famous ones are Anaconda and Jupyter. I personally am a fan of Jupyter. I really suggest you guys go ahead and install it if you want to start your data science path. But again, you want to code along with us right now, and maybe you don't have a code editor and it takes a long time for you to install it. No worries. There's an online code editor, which is my favorite, and I'm going to share it in the chat right now. And basically, you can just code along with us now and worry about installing the stuff later on. Okay, so first, to warm up our brains, let's do some basic calculations with Python. Right now, I'm using PyCharm. Again, one of my favorites. And let's just add two numbers. So let's add 7 plus 4. So I've used print, and it exactly does what I need it to do. So it basically prints out the value of 7 plus 4 in my console. 11. Great. Did exactly what I needed to do. Now let's do some subtracting. So I'm printing out 7 minus 4. And again, pretty easy. I get 3. What if I want to multiply something? For example, 2 multiplied by 3. Now we use asterisk to say, okay, Python, please multiply these two numbers. Ta-da, I get 6. This is where it gets interesting. If you've worked with other programming languages, you have to like create a function to put like 2 to the power of 3 and do something like that. Python has a built-in. So if I want to say, okay, 2 to the power of 3, I just use double asterisks. And ta-da, I get 8. So the first overview of why Python is superior, and it's just very easy to use. Okay, now let's talk about variables. So what if I want to use the value of 8, which is 2 to the power of 3, and then use it later on? Because right now I can't use it again. I have to like do it over and over again. That's where variables come to use. So I can just be like, the name of the variable that I want, I'm just going to call it example. And I say, okay, so divide 8 by 4. And then I can store it in a variable called example. Now, if I comment these out and I just print it, nothing happens, right? Nothing comes to my console. I have to actually print it to my console to understand what I'm asking it to do. So if I print it now and I print example, ta-da, I get 2. But this 2 is kind of different from, these guys. It has like a 0 and it has a decimal point. Let's go figure that out. That goes through data types. So, I mean, we all know that we have a bunch of different data, like numbers, strings, text data, and like the mix of them. Now, Python understands it manually, just automatically, and you can understand the type of like a variable or just a certain number by using the type functionality. So I'm printing out type of example. Let's see what type it is. It's a class float. Float means my number has a decimal point. So Python understands that because that division usually has some decimal points to the number, it automatically assumes, okay, it's probably going to be a float. And we can put example to just the number 4. And now the class is an integer. We all know integers are numbers without any decimal point. Now let's do something else. What if we have text data and our data right now is just hi? And as you can see, whenever I want to tell Python, okay, this is text data, I put my data inside of quotations. So if I do it now, I get string. So very easy to use. You can just check the type of your data, which is cool. Okay, now I think that's full introduction. Let's go and talk about lists, which is one of the key players when you're dealing with data. Okay, what even is a list? We've all have our own schedule. We've made lists, like to-do lists, to do something in a day, and it's chronological. Like it's like, okay, I have to do this at 1 and then 2 and then 3. So the order matters. So does in Python. Imagine we have 4 students and we have their grades as our data. How do I store the grades? Okay, so I'm gonna tell Python, okay, I'm gonna make a list. I tell Python by using square brackets. So I start and finish with a square bracket, and I go through every grade and I put it inside of my list. I divide the, each data point by a comma. That's it. And I named my list grades. And okay, now I have a question for you. What happens? What do you think is wrong with this code? Like if I run this, what's going to happen?
Error.
Yeah, why?
Because there's no commas.
Exactly. Easy as that. Cool. Now, we talked about lists. You might have some questions like, can my list contain more than just numbers? And the answer is yes. You can have strings, or AKA, text data, and you can have even a mix of stuff. You can have both the string and the integer. And if I check the type of it, it's still going to be a class list. So the type is going to remain a list. So lists are actually very flexible. Now, a little bit list inception. Can I have a list of lists? Because I said I can put anything inside of it. So yeah, you can. Here I had something called mixed stuff, and I had Lasha and 90, which is the name of the person and their grade. And I just stored it in a variable called Lasha. What if I put every single student's name and grade inside of a list and put them inside of an even more gigantic list and just divide the small list by a comma? And I just called it names and grades. So the big list starts from here, finishes from till here, and then each of these are our data points or objects, and we call the small list sublists. And of course, I think you can figure why it's useful for us, because we have a pair of, you can have pairs of data, and you just want to like relate them somehow and just store them in a huge gigantic list. Okay, now let's code along together and create a list of lists called ages, which has 2 objects, Felix, who is 19, Aaron, who is 16. So name and the age. Let's all go do that, and I'll go do it with you. So I hope you gave it a try, and I did it myself as well. I opened and closed the square bracket for my ages list, and then I put Felix 19 and Aaron 16 inside of it. Great. Okay, now let's go deal with like a little bit more data. So this is the top query search trends of England in the past month. And the top 5 is, the following. This is the search title, and this is the increasement rate that they had. I'm gonna copy paste the data just in a second. I just want to explain how it looks like. We have 2 lists of the same data. I've put the search title inside of another, a list called search title, and the search increase rate inside of another list. Now, how do I combine these two lists? Of course, I can do it manually, but what if I had like, I don't know, 3,000 of these? Of course, I can't do it manually. And Python actually solves this problem. You can use Python zip function. So zip function basically takes two lists and then it kind of just connects them and creates a list of lists. So if I look at this and I put search title and search increase inside of, zip, I'm going to get the Grand National and 1,950, just like this. And again, Prince Philip and 550, just like this, and so for the others. Okay, let's do this together. Let's use zip to combine search titles and search increase. Firstly, I will send you the data in the chat, and you can copy paste it. And we're naming our variable. You can name it whatever we want. I'm just gonna, do type a total for it. If you've done it, can you please tell me if you print out your zip, what are you going to get?
Do we get like the Grand National, the 1950 in one list and like one kind of sub list, and then the next following one kind of thing? Same pattern?
That's what we expect to get.
Okay.
But then if I print it, I get
Mm.
something weird. I get zip objected this. Now what this is basically the location on which this total guy has been, stored. But then like I need the actual data. So what do I have to do? What I have to do is typecasting. We have something called typecasting. First, let's check the type of total. I get a class zip. It's not a list anymore. So zip, it's its own data type. And that's the reason I can't view it. So what I have to do is to actually make zip into a list. And Python has made it very easy for us. All I have to do is say list and then name of the variable, which is total. Let's print it now. And I actually get the stuff, which is exactly what I expected to get. Anyone have any questions so far? I'm gonna take that as a no.
See how the Grand National and 1950 is in curly brackets? Is that still a list or does that become a tuple?
That is a tuple. That's a great catch, actually. Yes, the inside the sublists will become tuples.
Okay.
Great catch. But in total, our whole thing is going to become a list, like the big picture.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now let's explore lists a little bit more. Now, what if, let's go back to, for example, search title. What if I want to access the very first object, which is the Grand National? How do I access that? Now I will print it and I say, okay, search title, and then open close square brackets and 0. Now, where does that 0 come from? That's called indexing in Python. So imagine we have this list, and if I do like row 1, 0, I'm gonna get Facebook. If I do row 1, 4, I'm gonna get 3.5. Python has two ways of indexing. So it starts from 0, the positive indexing, goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, and how many ever objects you have inside of your list. And then we have something very cool, which is called negative indexing. And it starts from the last object, and it will be -1. Now you might ask, why would I need, negative indexing? Like, why? And the main reason this exists is because sometimes we don't know how many objects we have inside of our list. And we just want the last one or second to last one. That's how you can just say row 1 -1, and then you can get 3.5. Okay, now let's print this out and see what happens. I'm accessing 0, which is basically the first object inside of my list. I'm gonna get the Grand National. Now let's try -1. I expect Jim. And here I go, I get Jim. So basically every single object has two ways of getting access to, one positive and one negative indexing. I'm just gonna mention these are like my favorite things about a list. We have something called len, which comes from length, and you can see how many objects we have inside of a list. And if you've done any other programming language, you know that if you want to count like a certain occurrence of a word, a number, anything, you have to create like at least 5 lines of code or like 4 lines of code. Python has a built-in method .count, and you would just say, okay, so here's the list, find how many 5s there are inside of this list, and it would return it to you. And again, we have a built-in sort method, which basically sorts every element inside of your list. So if I get a 4, 2, 1, 3, I'm gonna get 1, 2, 3, 4, which again, very, it's made it easy for us compared to other languages, I mean. Okay, this is a very like high-level overview of lists. And if you have any questions about lists, you can ask me now. If you have like any confusion, like you wonder if a list can do something or another, you can ask me. What is the difference between length and count? Great question. So let's use len on search title. Let's see what I get. So if I comment this out and I print length of search title, I'm gonna get 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 items inside of search title. But if I say, like, let's use count now on search title. If I say search title dot count, let's count how many pub is inside of search title. I'm gonna get 1. So it will count how many times pub has occurred inside of my list, which is very cool. Any more questions? I'm gonna take that as a no. Okay, the next topic, loops. So we learned how to access data inside of a list, right? And imagine we have a list called names, and I have a bunch of names inside. What if I want to print each of them out? So I have to like write 6 lines of code and access each one of them manually. That is very redundant. And in programming, that's the whole purpose of programming, like to make things easier. So of course, there's a easier way to do this. Loops. And a loop is a way of repeating a set of code as many times as you want. We have different types of loops, but the most common one that you're definitely going to need is called a for loop. Now, I'm just gonna like screenshot names, and then let's just explore what's gonna happen. I'm gonna put it here, and my code, I'm gonna screenshot and put it here. Where did it go? Okay. Okay, let's see why this code works and how it works. So I'm saying for name in names, names is a variable. I have it here. It's a list. Now, what is this? This is called, well, a placeholder. Excuse my handwriting. It's hard to write. And basically you can name it whatever that you want. But of course, we want our code to be readable if someone else is looking at it. So when the name of the variable is plural, we just use the singular form here. For example, for name in name. And then we're printing out name. Let's go through the loop and see what happens. Okay, so firstly, it says, okay, so look at the first object in names, okay? So the first object in names is David. Cool. So name, which is the placeholder thingy, is going to be equal to names, the first object, which we use index 0. Okay. And then this guy is David, right? So this is going to be replaced by David. Now name holds the value of David. Then it says, okay, print the name, and name equals to David. So the output is going to be David. And then the loop's like, okay, fine, I'm done with the first one. What's next? Then it's gonna go through the second name or object inside, which is index 1. So now name is going to be equal to names index 1, which is Negar. And hence the output, which is again print name, is going to be Negar. And it just goes through every single object inside of here until it reaches Nata, which is the last one, and then realizes, oh, okay, so there's no more objects, so I'm done, bye, and the loop finishes. The output would be every single object, which is names here, and we will print out on the console. Okay, now, I've sent you the search title, and as a practice, let's, print out every single item inside of search title with a loop. It would be great if you guys code along with me, or not, you can just watch me do it. And ta-da! It will look like this. Just one important note. Indentation is very important in Python. So each block of code will be determined by the indentation. So when we're inside of the for loop, we always have to have a tab space. That's how Python realized, oh, okay, I'm still inside of the loop. You know, same goes with functions, which will be discussed like right away. If you have any questions, please like write in the chat. I'm just gonna check the chat anyways. So yeah, that was again an overview for loops. Now, again, my favorite, very important, functions. So what is a function? So basically, when you have several lines of code and then you want to repeat them, and you absolutely don't want to, you know, repeat yourselves 100 times, that's when you use functions. So when you call a function, those lines of code will automatically be put on your program or output. Okay, now how do I do this? For example, imagine we have a restaurant, and every single time someone comes, we want to tell them, okay, welcome, but then, you know, have your mask on in all times because COVID. So it will be fine if like 1 or 2 people showed up, but what if like 8 people showed up at the same time? So for each person, it will be 2 lines. And if I want to repeat myself every time, it will be 16 repetitive lines of code. Like, that's so annoying. Why would I do that? That's why we need functions. Okay, now let's do it. Functions have a keyword, def, comes from define or definition, and you give it a name, open, close parentheses, and you basically say whatever that you want to repeat. For us, it's welcome to our store. Please make sure to have your mask on at all times. And then we have to call the function, which is the name of it, and you know, they will just appear on our output. Let's go check this out of how it works. Okay. So let's create it again together. So def greeting customer, open, close. Welcome to our store. Please have your mask on at all times. Okay, now here's the important thing about functions. Consider them as like an isolated part of your program. So whatever happens inside of your functions stays in your function. So if I run this right now, I'm not gonna get anything. I'm not gonna get welcome to our store. I'm not gonna get anything. What I have to do to get those is when I call the actual function. So if I say greeting customer, then I would get the stuff inside of my function. So yeah, here you go. It's a cool way to not repeat yourself. Now I have a task for you guys, which is write a function called loading screen. And then it prints out this page is loading to the console, and then call the function outside of your function body. And in case like you forgot what a function looks like, I just like put it as a sample here. I'm just gonna give you guys like 1 or 2 minutes. Here is the result. I created a function, and then I called my function. And if I run it, I'm gonna get this page is loading. Great. Now, what if I want to calculate the area of a triangle, where I want to add 5 to every number that I see? How do I do that with functions? Well, with parameters. You might wonder what these parentheses are for here. That's where the parameters go. So, for example, let's create a function which adds 5 to every single number that you give it. For example, def add 5 or 4, I don't remember what I said. Here, I would say number, and I'm just printing that number plus 5. Again, what can be a little bit confusing is that you might want to try and access number. And let's do that and see what happens. So if I print number, I'm going to get an error, which is like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what number is. What are you talking about? And again, it comes back to the thing that I said, that functions are isolated, means number only exists within the function. So if I come out of the indentation, number just vanishes. It doesn't exist anymore. Okay. Now let's print add 5. I'm calling my function and I'm giving it 5. So I guess I'm gonna get 10 here. What did I do? Oh, I misspelled 5, great. Okay, I'm gonna get 10. Great. Now, what is this none, you might ask? Is our next topic. First, let's just mess around with parameters. Let's do this task. Instead of 1 parameter, we're giving our function 3, a number, x and y, which are going to be, the number is going to be multiplied by 3, and then will be added by 5. Let's do that. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to think about. Cool. Now code along with you guys. So def mult x add y. I have 3 parameters. I'm getting x first, y first, second, and then I'm getting number. And then I'm printing that number multiplied by x and added by y. Then I'm going to call it, let's multiply by 2, add by 5, and my number will be 3. I'm going to get 11, which is what I expected. Anyone have any questions? Anyone getting errors or confusion?
See, in the last function, when you called the function, you did print then the function name, but in this one, you just called the function name. I don't understand. Like, how come sometimes you would print the function and sometimes you just call the function?
Yes, exactly. That's a very good question. I'm going to answer your question fully just in a second, but just a heads up. So when I printed I deleted it, but okay, let me do it again. So if I print at 5, and then I give it like 6, and I print it, I'm going to get none as well, right? But when I don't put print, then I don't get any none. And let's go to the next one, which I will explain, is the return statement. Should I use space after comma? Your code will work if you don't, but it's very good practice to do so because it's easier to like see what's happening. Okay, so what are return statements? What if we want to actually store the result of our function? So let's go back here. And what if I want to store my add 5? So if I put it into add 5 example, and I store it, and if I print add 5 example, I did something wrong. Oh, okay. I'm going to get just none. And the reason to that is that all functions need a return statement. If you don't give it a return statement, it's just going to be none. That's why when I printed it, the value of the actual function was none because it doesn't have a return. Now, what are returns, by the way? So I want to store my number, multiplied by x plus y. Instead of printing it, I will return it. Just like in mathematics, right? So when you have a function, you give it an input, the function acts like a factory, does stuff to it, and then returns you something, right, as an output. Right now, we were just, shouting out something without actually giving a value to our function. Now we did that because we added return. So if I say example 1, and I store molds, and I do the same numbers again, and I will print out example 1, I will get 11, and that none is for this one. So I don't get none anymore because my function actually has a value now. So yeah, this guy literally is this, return none. But this one is just automatically by Python. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay. And you might wonder, like, can my function just return, I don't know, numbers or what? It can be anything, literally. Boolean, string, number, float, whatever. You can return whatever that you want. Okay, let's do an example. So let's create a hello dog function, and it will return, not anymore printing, we're actually returning now. We're going to print out hello, I'm sorry, return hello plus the name of the dog. So our function will get one input. Let's do it together. So I will just print, comment all of this out. Def hi dog name as an input. And then I'm returning hi plus the dog name plus maybe an exclamation point because we love dogs here. Cool. And I'm just going to my dog equals, for example, hi dog, and my dog's name is Tico. And what's going to happen if I print my dog, which is my function call basically. I get hi Tico. So now I can store the value of my function and reuse it as many times as I want. And you might have noticed here that I actually added 2 strings or text data together, which is very convenient. Just putting it out there. Okay, we're done with the, me teaching. Now let's do, a task. I will give you time. You can use all the stuff that we covered here. Let's do it. Just a little hint, you can use indices for strings. Yeah, thank you, Louise, for answering. Yes, string is basically a list of characters. We can treat it like that. And I hope you had time to figure it out. So this would be like the ultimate pro Python kind of doing it. It would be kind of like counterintuitive if you've done other languages. But yeah, you can basically just play with the indices because you can just treat strings as a list and just go and just tell Python, okay, go from, the last character to the first character, like this. I put a task here, but I think I'm kind of running out of time. So actually, no, let's do it. Another task. So we're creating a function that takes the level of awesomeness from 0 to 100. So that's my input. And then we're returning the difference of that level and 100. And then we're telling that person, hey, you have like this much percentage left to being awesome. So we're returning the, the awesomeness level subtracted by 100. Yes, Luis. So I hope you would be able to do it. I just did a little spice here as well. And yeah, we're just returning basically 100 minus awesomeness, and then you can just, you know, play around with it. Alrighty. Now, I hope you got like a good overview of Python for data science and why it's important to learn it actually, and it's probably the perfect solution to get started with data science. And that's why we actually have a course for it. So we've called it Python Essentials for Data Science. Our training starts from August 2nd. It's only 4 week long, and I think that's the perfect amount of time to actually like master Python for data science. We'll basically go through everything you need to know before jumping into like the machine learning and data science terminology and stuff. And so who is this for? Absolutely anyone, as long as you have a love for data science or you just want to know, like you're just enthusiastic about it, like maybe you want to do it, maybe you're trying to figure things out. And you don't have to have any prior coding experience. Basically, we're gonna start from scratch. Well, we're just gonna go through Python basics first, control flow, list, loops and functions. Week 3 is a key point. We're gonna go through strings and files. So you're going to know how to access your data and kind of mess around with it. And the last week is going to be a final project, and you're just gonna kind of reinforce everything you've learned the past 3 weeks. Now, I just want to add something here. You might wonder, like, why is this like different? What's so special about this? And I'll tell you just now. And the reason is that everything is going to be data science concentrated. So every single homework, task, scenario is all going to be working with data, actual data. And in your final project, you will have an actual data science data set, and you're going to work with it. And yep, that's all from me. Please contact Gautier. You can see, you know, the phone number, email, website. And okay, now I'm actually done. Any questions about either Python or our course? Okay, I have, a question. Why do we need to assign function as a variable before printing? You don't have to. You absolutely can just print out, just like that. But usually the reason we use functions is that we need that value sometime later. So that's why we store it in a variable so we can use it later on. But you can absolutely just print it out as well. At what time of the week will the lectures take place? So like all day, every day, or like on the weekends? I think Gautier can answer this better than me.
Yeah, which one? It's what time of the week we do the lecture? Because we have two different programs. First of all, thanks, Mega was awesome. So we have two different programs. One more for beginner, that's the introduction to Python and data science. And this one, it will be probably Monday and Wednesday around 6 p.m. and it's 3 hours of live courses per week. And so the program about for beginners, it will be 4 weeks. And the other is introduction to machine learning, it's 6 weeks. And so the next, if I remember well, the next program for the introduction to Python and data science, it will start at the beginning of August, 2nd of August. And the practical data scientist, so introduction to machine learning, it will start the 19th of July, if I remember well. So
Yes.
I hope I give you all the information. So you can apply on the website and we will have a call to check together all the requirements. Thanks. Thanks, Luis. So that's it. I think you have all the information. So what's the next questions? So yeah, no, it's not every day. So
yeah, it's not like a boot camp. It's gonna be like we're gonna take time and like actually like go through it, ease into it basically.
Well,
thank you so much for attending.
Thank you, Nigar. It was awesome. It's really great. So yeah, it's like also program. It's a mix between 3 hours of live courses in this format, and as well 2 or 3 hours of homework. So, and it's perfect for employees. So if you have a very busy calendar, it's fine. Even if you're super busy, it will fit for sure. And if you have any question, I will be more than happy having a call with you to give you all the information you need. Or just if you're curious about that, I can see some faces and names here, like Shay, for example. I know he will join the next program, the practical data scientist. So welcome to Jungle program, Shay. It's cool to see you here.
Yeah, just to add something to Gautier, what Gautier just said. So, and all the projects that you will do will have, like, you will receive a feedback before you receive the other homework. So you'll know what to work on, where you did like wonderfully, or like you need some help in some areas, and you're gonna get resources and whatever you need to, like, just push through.
Yeah, I'm here. If you're interested to know the next meetup, you can join the Jungle Program meetup group. And it's like one meetup. We're trying to organize 2 meetups per month for different profiles. Sometimes it's more for beginners, sometimes it's for experts. And if you in Berlin, we have as well some Friday beers, cool part. Friday beers with members. And so you can contact me, Gautier. You will have all the information on the presentation. You can contact me if you want to know the members, and if you want to join the next Friday beers with the members of the community. And I will send you the presentations thanks to all the address email I have on Luma. So please sign up on Luma if you want to get the presentations. So thanks a lot, Negar. It was awesome. I don't know if there's other questions. I don't think so. A lot of
Yes, I'm just
super
gonna
lovely
pull it
messages for
over
you.
now. Yes.